What's up, YouTube? It's Todd Horst here with Tasty Tracker. Every couple videos, like every 10 videos, I'd like to do something a little bit different than, my typical options related. So maybe that's finance, maybe that's rental related, whatever. So today I thought I'd just do a little video of how to be rich like me. So before you start flaming and in the comment section or whatever, hear me out. This video will actually have some of the tips that I've used to get to where I'm at financially speaking. And I do think it'll be helpful for some people, maybe something that you haven't thought about or a different way of thinking, or maybe you already are doing this. Whatever is the case, leave your tips or ideas for financial success in the comments below. I'm always, as always, looking to learn something, so if you have something that could help me out, that would be awesome. Okay, so first of all, being rich is relative. I originally said how to be a millionaire, and I didn't want to put that number out there because everybody defines rich differently. Some people already have $1 million, but they want 10, and some people, if they just had 100,000, that would be awesome. So whatever rich is to you, that's really what I'm talking about here, and it's obtainable no matter what that number is for you. Even if you're starting off with only 10 grand and being a multimillionaire is your end goal. But really, the key point in sort of all of this is that it's a mindset. So you can be broke, but you're rich. And I really sort of learned that from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think, or somewhere in my youth, because if you think that you're broke and you're never going to have money, then that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you need to think that you're going to be rich, you're just not rich yet. And if you think that way, then the next logical question is, what can I do to get to that place where I will be where I want to be? And if you just, on the flip side, if you just accept your status where it is right now, you're never going to question things or have the motivation to move forward. So I really think it's important to get your mindset correct first and foremost. So anyway, then you need to come up with an idea of what you want to achieve, and you have to actually want it. And I mean really want it. If you have some sort of goal, but you're not going to take it seriously, then there's no point in even starting. So whatever it is in life, obviously, if you want to complete college or get this new car or whatever, if you're not spending the energy and time that it takes to get that, then you might as well not start at all, I guess. Anyway, I guess that's just my point of view, and I'm always going to be the person that's going to strive to get it, so I'm not a quitter by nature. Okay, so the next exercise really is to imagine what that feels like, what it looks like, what it smells like in your head. When you have something that's in your head and you really have a vivid picture, you're more likely to want to go out and get it. And maybe that's, if you want a new car, maybe that's taking a test drive in that car. But somehow you need to get something that feels real and obtainable, even if you don't know how you're going to get it at this point. Just knowing what the reward will be at the end is, I think, very valuable. One of the first books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like I said before, it was a long time ago, so forgive me if I get anything wrong, but the gist of the whole book really could be summed up in a couple sentences. But the most important parts were to invest first and then have those investments pay for luxuries. And that really stuck with me. I got into rental apartments when I was 18, and because I got 15-year mortgages, they have now paid themselves off. And so that money is able to go towards other things, whether that's additional investments or luxuries. If you don't create that investment, and instead you're paying for things right from your paycheck, you'll sort of never get ahead. That's why people are perpetually in debt. But if you invest first and have those investments be sound investments that actually pay you dividends, I'm not talking about literal dividends, but if you're actually getting an income off of that, then you can continue to snowball that into a place where you'll never have to work again. And I really extrapolate that to investing in yourself in general. So you should invest in yourself financially, whether that's continuing your education. I don't sell a course, but there are lots of people that do sell courses for a variety of things, or websites where you can pay to learn things. I think those are a great idea. I am a member at work for some educational sites. So I definitely think that's worth paying for, and I've definitely paid for to follow other gurus to help learn options to get to the place where I'm at now. So you need to invest in yourself too, in the time you put towards learning. So it's not just buying a package, educational package. You have to actually put that into practice, spend time going through that, and then also Googling, and finding stuff on your own. So you need to, I sort of, I guess, obsess about things to get the knowledge. So I won't stop researching something for several days until I've felt that I've exceeded my expectations on what I would learn about that specific topic. So yeah, I guess you have to be a little bit neurotic about some knowledge, I think, at some points, because as we all know, knowledge is power. Okay. So the next bullet point is, if you really want financial success or anything in general, you have to invest in yourself with the time. And so, yeah, I have a Facebook account, but I don't really check it. I don't message people. I definitely don't read statuses of all of my friends posting. I don't really care about that stuff. Not that I don't care about them, but I'm not interested in knowing about every single thing of their life. It's the same with gaming. I have a Nintendo Switch. I play that for fun to relax, but that's not where I spend the majority of my time. So whether I'm learning about options or programming or whatever, I'm always trying to learn something new. And I think that's sort of the cornerstone of becoming rich. You can't expect to get rich with dumb luck and without hard work. Okay, so last point here is, you have to actually put the work in. You can't just get rich quick. There will always be somebody on the internet that was able to do it. You and I aren't that lucky. I've said this before. We have to actually work for it. So you might as well get that out of your head, I guess, and stop trying to get rich quick, because you're just wasting time doing that instead of doing something more productive. Okay, next slide. Okay, so sort of the phase one for me, how I got to where I am now, is I controlled what I can control, and that's to reduce expenses. So I think the first thing you can do is try to have a focused month where you cut out everything. You can go on a diet, with food, consuming less food that you bought out. When I am on a diet, I still allow myself like a donut on Friday or something like that. And so it's the same thing with finances. Every once in a while you can have something extra and splurge, but for the most part, you need to cut out all of the things on your financial diet that you don't need. So some simple subscriptions are some simple things to cut are subscriptions. So your phone, your internet, streaming, your Sam's, your BJ, any monthly payment, I think, is the devil. So you want to minimize the number of those and the cost of those. So obviously I can't get rid of a phone, but I can go to a plan with only 3 gigabytes per month instead of unlimited data. Internet, I don't need some crazy service. I only have 10 megs down, and that's fine for me. Streaming services, I only have Amazon because that comes with a Prime membership, and I'm able to share with other people for Netflix. Sam's, I had a Sam's Club card, but I sat down and I figured out how much money I was saving by being a member, and it didn't cover the cost of the membership, so why do it? Another important thing is to look at your credit card and your bank statements. I think sometimes there are these automated fees that you're not even aware that you're having. I know I had a couple Amazon and Google subscriptions that were just sitting out there that I totally forgotten about. It's only $3 or $4 a month, but when you have 10 of those, that's $30. That's a meal for your family, a small meal. Then once you have your expenses under control, and I will say that's a continual thing, you have to reevaluate maybe every 6 months, continue to look at what you can reduce, and then you'll go another 6 months. And it's sort of like unsubscribing from spam in your email. You have to always do that, but once you get things under control, for the most part, you don't have to focus on it as much as you do initially. Okay, so the next step is getting a job where there's room for growth and staying there. So I know a lot of people that will switch from job to job to job, and that does make sense to a degree if you spend a year or two at the job and you're switching to a new position to get more money. But if you're just switching because you hate your boss, you're not, and you're switching after 6 months, you're not building up enough skills and reliableness on your resume that you're going to be seen as unreliable, and it's going to get harder and harder for you to get a job. So I think switching when you hit that financial ceiling, maybe there are no positions for you to get promoted into or whatever, that makes sense. But before you can become rich, the whole summary for this slide is you need to satisfy Maslow's hierarchy. Basically, you need to have all of your basic needs met before you can move on to the next phase, which is actually building your wealth. But the first phase is just security. So 2 more bullet points here. Get a 401k, and you should be contributing at least 10% of your income. And then each year you get your raise from your job, increase that your percentage that you're contributing for each paycheck by 1%. And that will help you not notice that 1% increase each year, but in 10, 20 years, you'll be maxing out your max contribution to the 401k, which is something around $16,000 a year. And that will obviously help to compound over the years until you retire. So I did go through Dave Ramsey's course before, and I don't agree with everything he says, especially when we come to the latter half of the building wealth. But for the first part, his advice makes a lot of sense, and that's having an emergency fund and paying down debt. So if you haven't looked at Dave Ramsey's stuff, go ahead and give him a look. Again, not everything he says I agree with, but there's a lot of good stuff there. Next slide. Okay, so once you have the basic necessities done, you can get into the wealth building and sort of freedom stage of your finances. And you can work towards growth. But obviously you can't work on growing your fund, or your wealth, if you're still have the rest of your finances in a total wreck, if that makes sense. I mean, that's just logical, but maybe it needs said. I don't know. Phase 1 is like a slow grind, and you make a lot of mistakes. And you really, I spent all of my 20s in phase 1. So it's not something that's going to be quick. At times it can feel like you're not making progress, but definitely if you keep at it, you'll get there. But phase 2 is where it gets exponential, because while you're building your wealth before to a very minimal level where you had no or less debt, or at least no bad debt, in phase 2, you have more money to work with, and it's not money that you necessarily need to pay the bills. So it's money that would otherwise be sitting around that you can use to build into a giant nest egg. So tip here is to understand the difference between good and bad debt. Dave Ramsey is pretty much against all debt in general, but there is good debt, and one of those is for getting apartments. If you're buying real estate, you're going to have debt, and everybody has different theories on the best way to do it and thresholds of debt that they can tolerate. So I'm not going to get into that, at least in this video, but I don't have any problem with having mortgages or home equity line of credit, anything like that. I think all that's fine. What you want to stay away from, obviously, is car debt and credit card debt. So you start off with a conservative IRA with index investing, and then each step that you take, you get riskier and riskier and riskier because that money gets further and further away from the core money that you need to live, if that makes sense. So in phase one, I'm making sure that I can pay my utility bills and my mortgage. Now that I'm in phase two, I'm going to start with an IRA so that I have a retirement account, and it's in index investing, which is pretty much hands-off, and it's pretty solid. In 50 years, I can guarantee that it's going to be way more valuable than it is now, and I'm going to contribute that. Once I've contributed enough to that each month, say I hit my goal of $500, that might be too much because IRAs do have a pretty small limit. But say I want to contribute $100 each month to my IRA. Once I hit that, and now I have an extra $50 left over, now I'm going to take that to the next thing. And this time I'm going to go riskier. So then I might do an IRA with stocks. And so you can do that with Tastyworks allows you to trade stocks in an IRA or options, but there are many brokers that will allow a more active management in an IRA. You can only get more aggressive with each increment because, again, if you do that too soon, you're going to upset the apple cart, and you don't want to risk your core finances on building wealth. So that's when after I've done all the steps above, that's when options came into play for me, where I'm having some extra income and I want to know where I can stick that to make the most amount of money. So with options, I still follow the same path, where I start off conservative in an IRA with some defined spreads, defined risk spreads, and I don't want to say sure bets because obviously nothing with options is sure, but very conservative positions. Then I have a smaller margin account that I try to be a little bit more aggressive with, because if I blow that up, it's not a big deal. Then I have an even smaller account that I'm day trading, which is the most aggressive and most likely to blow up, and that's a cash account. So as you can see, in everything I do, I start off with something that's very, very reliable, and the amount of growth I can expect from that is low, and then I work towards something that is more and more profitable, but at the same time more and more likely to blow up. Next slide. Okay, so here I have a lot of little tips I was just thinking about, and so I jotted them down. One huge problem is that people don't live like a life that they could afford. So if you are at the stage of your life where you can afford a nice car, then that makes sense. But most of us aren't, and so we need to actually live like that. And so getting a used couch, or at least a cheaper couch, makes sense. There's a bank commercial on the radio right now, and it's talking about refinancing your mortgage so you can afford matching furniture, and then they say that they're going to help you reduce your debt. And this just blew my mind, because they're promoting going further in debt. Of course they are, they're a bank. It's on Spotify, I'm not sure if you guys have heard it or not. But I'm all for refinancing your mortgage, but then to go and take that savings, turn it around and put it into more debt is just crazy. Take the money you saved and make those additional payments onto your mortgage. Since you were putting that towards your mortgage anyway, it was just going towards the interest. Now that you've refinanced and gone to a lower interest rate, give the bank the same amount of money, it's just going to get paid off sooner. Be frugal. People, think that being frugal is dumb. I think the stigma has gone away a bit more with millennials. But it used to be that, it was uncool to be frugal. And, I would say who's cooler, the person that doesn't have any credit card debt and are frugal, or the person that is trying to have some sort of image for some reason. I do think there's a point where you should buy something more expensive that will last longer. So, for example, I always buy Toyotas or Hondas. That's just my personal belief that they last longer. And if you have some other belief, that's fine as well. But the point there is they're around the same cost typically, especially for a new or slightly used one, as any other vehicle, like a Ford, for example. But they're going to last way longer, again, in my opinion. But then there are other times where you can shave off value because it doesn't make sense to buy something that's more expensive. So wherever I can, I try to get the cheaper thing without sacrificing quality. So I definitely always question everything, if that isn't apparent so far in the video. But why do companies offer warranties? Obviously, it's because that's additional money, or they're building crap products. In either case, you don't want the warranty, and you may or may not want that actual product. Why do oil companies and propane companies offer their service to come out and top you up off so that you won't run out in the middle of winter? It's a nice idea. However, you can just as easily go out and look at how full your propane and your oil tank is. The reason, and they'll even say that it locks you into a price. Well, half the time, that price that they lock you in at, while it's potentially lower, in the long run, it's actually higher than if you were to just fill it up when you needed to. And mowing your lawn, that's something that most healthy people can do and saves you a lot of money. If you want to have somebody come out and treat your lawn, I think that sort of makes sense. I don't have my yard treated, but I can see a place for that. But as far as mowing is concerned, if you're healthy, why not just mow your lawn yourself? I think I have somewhere around here that I also change my own oil. Changing oil on any vehicle is super easy. I've been doing it forever. If you know a guy that can do it really cheap, then that's fine. But I can get full synthetic and a new oil filter for 30 bucks, and around me, that's cheaper than any Jiffy Lube or anything like that is going to offer. So it's just looking for ways that I can easily shave off some money. Okay, looking at your bills annually, that comes back to where the first phase is sort of cutting down, and you need to really focus on that for the first couple months, but then after that you can address it annually. Next bullet point, turning temperature down. I forget what it is, but it's like every degree that you turn it down, it's X number of dollars per month. It obviously depends on how your house is heated and how big your house is. The point is, though, if you throw on a hoodie, you can save a lot of money, and getting a new thermostat that has times, so then when my family and I are away at school and at work, then the thermostat automatically turns off. And then on top of that, my house has 4 zones, so I can adjust the different zones at different times, and it really makes it, I have a lot of options there, and it saves me a lot of money. Okay, so yeah, here's the point about the oil. Your time is only more valuable than doing something if you can actually make money during that time. I hope that just made sense. But I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, my time is more valuable. I can make whatever, $80 per hour at my job or online, and it only costs $40 to change the oil. So if I work that hour, then I can pay for that oil plus make some money on top of it. And that's fine if you're actually going to work that hour. But most people, myself included, are just going to stay inside and play video games during that hour and not actually make that money. So in that case, it actually does make sense for me to change the oil. We never get our yard mowed, like I said. We always clean ourselves, and we never get delivery. I drive out to the pizza place and I pick up the pizza. I feel like a lot of people who aren't good at finances, and so probably not the people watching this video anyway, but generally are just acting spoiled, and they have these really high expectations of what their life should look like and what they deserve. And I think a lot of that stems from seeing your parents and how they live. So my parents had bought a new car, but I can't afford a new car right out of college. I don't think anybody can. Hold on a second while I shut off my alarm. Wow. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So they see their parents driving brand new cars, having a big house that's whatever, 3,000 square feet, and they expect to jump right into that. And obviously that's not reality. If you're just getting out of college, you don't have that kind of money, and you shouldn't try to. If you try to jump right into that, you're getting ahead of yourself, and then you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to pay off that debt. If you work your way up to that, you can work your way up quicker than if you just jump right to it. And again, that's within reason. If you do like buy a $100,000 house and then a $120,000 house and then a $150,000 house, obviously that doesn't make sense because of the transactional costs. So maybe you want to save and buy a $150,000 house and then save and buy a $300,000 house. But the point is that you can't jump right to that $300,000 house. Your monthly payments would be way too high, especially if you want everything else. I should also note there that I put the house way above our vehicles, so we got a much bigger house than even we could have afforded initially, and then we're driving junk cars. But then over the years, as I've gained in income, I've been able to get rid of the old junker cars and get nicer, newer cars. Okay. So yeah, the whole point there is that your parents worked up to that level, and they didn't start that way, and you shouldn't start that way either. So just get some perspective there. Just like a company may outsource occasionally, when it makes sense to do that, you should do it if it's cheaper. But definitely reevaluate that over time, because your finances and the situation will change from time to time. So I guess, again, in summary, the whole thing is about attacking your income from both sides. So you want to make more money and spend less money. Oh, that's supposed to say ignore the Joneses. You don't know how much money they make or how much money they owe. So if you are looking over at your neighbor and lusting after what they have, it's, setting yourself up for failure. There's a million variables that you don't know, and maybe you wouldn't actually want their life if you could get it. It's sort of the grass always greener kind of thing. Back to the internet thing real quick. Do you need 100 megs down? I actually only paid for 10, and then they upgraded me to 15 anyway, for the same price. But I don't haggle each year. That's just the real price for my, I pay a set plan that doesn't go up every year, is what I'm trying to say, because I think it's annoying to call in and try to haggle them down. So last bullet point here is it's never too late to get started, and to better your situation and to help others become better with their financial literacy. I think it's important to help each other out and sort of destigmatize talking about money. Again, if you're here, you're probably thinking the same thing. But if you're always scared to talk about your finances with your friends, then how does anybody expect to get better? So I guess I'll leave it there. That's the same slide. Okay, as always, my name's Todd Horst. This Tasty Tracker is my website. I'll have alerts coming out here soon. I'm working on them every night. The cost is $9.99 a month, and I have all the broker links in the description if you want to use my referral links. If you don't, that's fine as well. Share and comment, like, subscribe, and as always, I am not a financial advisor. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.